We've all fell in love with Pixar's Cars, but why? Well, because of the multiple stories in it. We learned of Sally and Hudson and his past and made her finally finding a friend. McQueen learned in the end that there's more things that matter in life than a trophy or being number one. Aside from that great story, I've always wondered what was going through the developers' minds when they thought this would work. So whatever happened to this film and why have we rarely heard of it? Well, let's take a closer look. The film starts out with a similar vibe like Cars, fast paced, trying to get your attention, planes flying around and music in the background to get you excited. We soon realize that this is a dream sequence. The film's close affiliation with Cars begs the comparison to Pixar, which is unfortunate since Planes lacks any of the elements that makes the renowned studio's work. Even the Cars franchise, arguably their worst efforts, so beloved. What I've noticed with Rusty, the main character, and Lightning McQueen very early on, is they think of themselves as more than what they are. He thinks of himself as more than a crop duster, as McQueen thinks of himself more than just a race car driver. Once again, the story follows something very similar to Cars. Just like Hudson, who couldn't race, or Skipper, who can't race. One of the problems I see is the story follows too closely to Cars, making it a wannabe Cars story, just replacing the vehicles. Within 10 minutes of the film, you can tell that this is a complete copycat of Cars. Releasing in 2013 with a budget of $50 million and coming out with $239 in the box office, I really wanted to know what the development process was for this film, and it turns out it was based on a concept from one of the most successful people in the animation industry, John Lasseter. The writers made a conscious effort to not remake Cars in a new setting, rejecting ideas that were too close to ideas in Cars while reusing the characters Skipper and Sparky from Cars 2 episode Air Mater. The film's trailer is a good concept when you look at it, and even though it was made by the same people responsible for Cars, it didn't live up to its expectations. Plane has enough bright colors, goofy voices, and slick animation to distract some young viewers for 92 minutes, and probably sell plenty of toys in the bargain. But on nearly every other level, it's a Disney disappointment, says one critic. Others have said that the film is just too bland and nothing about it stands out, blatantly calling it forgettable. The production company responsible for creating Planes was also the one who created Lilo and Stitch 2 and Cinderella 3. Again, more films that not a lot of people are familiar with. Despite all the references to Cars on the posters and in the trailers, Planes is by no means a Pixar product. There was even talk of a third installment to Planes, however after the closing of Disney Toons, that never got to happen. Regardless of the film's demeanor and response from audiences, the story does have things that create a successful story, a character with room to grow, and a dream he believes in, no matter who's rooting for him. And the more people make fun of him, the more he starts to believe in himself and try harder. He gets into the race from disqualifications from another racer and dreams even harder. Regardless of what he's built to do, he knows he can do better. If you haven't noticed already, this is something that can be relatable, another reason to catch your attention. He begins training with someone that he looks up to. Being something makes you appear to be something, and then proving everyone wrong by making an accomplishment is something I believe is the best thing that can be taken away from this story. However, it's not enough to catch people's attention, much less holding it. It is bland and no real reason to hook you in, which is a key to a story. And I talk a lot about key factors on this channel because it's true. If you have a compelling story with relatable and true characters and give the audience a reason to care, you are almost guaranteed for success. Hudson steers true to McQueen about his past, and Skipper does as well. The difference is Skipper felt ashamed that he hurt others around him due to his orders. Hudson, on the other hand, didn't harm anyone but crashed in the race and was embarrassed and scared to race again. Sitting through this film took me back to watching Cars for the first time, and honestly, if you close your eyes long enough and just listen to the dialogue, it was almost like they just copy and pasted the story. It was too comparable to the classic Cars story. So maybe this film didn't technically do wrong. It just wasn't in the limelight and didn't take off like the rest of Disney films tend to do. But I'm still curious, did you watch this or have high expectations for it since it was coming from Disney? I don't know, looking at the trailer, it seems like people were skeptical of the whole thing. But let me know what films or series I should dissect next.